Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Drawing Down the Dragon. I'm Snappy, and thank you for joining me for our evening adoration to the Muses. And we gather with the sunset and cry out in loving adoration to the Great Mother, the twins, and the Muses, the one, duality, and generation. And we ask the Muses to sing in us the songs of inspiration, to guide us in our daily wanderings, and to teach us to listen and perceive with reasoned clarity. So now let us light our candles and begin our rites. Hail Hestia. All right. Thank you guys all for joining me. What a lovely, lovely, beautiful evening. Let's give a shout out here to our chat. Much love to you, Nymphaeum. Honeybee, much love. D Love, much love. Cat the Taurus, much love. Steve, much love. The Phoenix, much love. All right. Really appreciate everyone who's here and much love to you all. Such a pleasure. I really, really, this means the world that I'm allowed to do this every day. All right. So let's begin today by discussing our astrology. We have moved out of the moon in Virgo and into the moon in Libra. And this is a profound shift, a powerful shift, right? Virgo and Libra are related energies leading to the other, right? That hard work in the earth that takes us to the heights of the stars. Libra is that balanced energy of harmony that calls us into communication and into reflection, that unites us in action and in refinement. Really beautiful energy. Libra can really bring peace and harmony. It seeks to come into flow and connection. It doesn't seek to rattle the cage, right? It's beautiful, beautiful stuff, solid and secure in itself. But often this energy can sometimes be a bit heavy in that people who are in this energy tend to not speak up, tend to, go with the flow for the sake of peace. And that energy can be, limiting, limiting, and ultimately hurtful. So we have to be careful to be sure of ourselves and not to allow our voice to be silent. But at the same time, now is a time when we can come into true communicative, loving harmony, when we can really recognize the emotions and the ideas and the thoughts of the people around us, right? The thing with Libra is that that energy is aware, that energy is honest, and it strives for the best. It strives for true justice. And to achieve true justice, that means we must make an adjustment, right? We must change. Action is required. And so that ultimately is what Libra demands, is profound action, action that calls us into greater harmony and into connection, right? Profound stuff. Use this energy to connect to those around you and to empower yourself. Beautiful. All right, let's continue. Let us discuss our title. I know the freedom of fantastic things. This beautiful line comes to us from a magical poem from one of my favorite poets of all time, Clark Ashton Smith. And we're going to read several poems by Clark Ashton Smith this evening. All right, so let's take a look. Okay, so this is the first poem, Chance. Bow down before the daemon of the world, this monstrous god, half idiot and half ape, with fumbling hands omnipotent to shape a harlot's breast or build great altars, hurled from the lost sun to sunless hell, or whirled back to their heaven with equal jest and jape. All other gods shall nevermore escape his will that once begot them. Wars unfurled, with banners blown like ever wandering fires, from realm to realm conflagrant, or the play of coupling mice or monsters, wake away, all to his dominion, darkly born thereof. The trembling atoms teem to stars and fires, the leper's flesh, the white flesh of thy love. Wow. Such wild imagery in this one, right? darkly born thereof, the troubling atoms, teem to stars of fires, the leper's flesh, the white flesh of thy love. I love it so much. All right, let's continue. The next poem I'd like to read for you guys is called The Exile, Clark Ashton Smith. The Exile. Against my heart, your heart is closed. You bid me go. What ways are left in all the world for love to know? Desolate oceans and the light of lonely plains, dead moons that wander in the wastes of ice and snow. These I fain would see and find the splendid bourne of sunset or the brazen desert of the morn, that I might lose this ever aching loneliness in vaster solitude and love be less forlorn. Faring to seek with alien sun and alien star the strange, the veiled horizons infinite and far, spaces of fire and night, the skies of steel and gold, or sunset haunted seas where formless islands are. Wow. Striving to traverse that great abyss and to explore the deep unknown, right? The other. What profound imagery. Love it. This next one is one of my all-time faves by Clark Ashton Smith. You guys are going to really enjoy this. This is a bit wild. It's called Decadence. By some strange antepast, I have consumed in a former star, foregone the fruits of this, and frost and dust commingle in the kiss of love with my forsaken self entombed, quenched as of night and Lethe, the great fire wherewith the lordlier suns my spirit burn, bequeathed but ashes long and long inurned, to feed the darkling altars of desire. O soul, not all the further stars might fill, nor any god constrain your stubborn will, nor silence this your mouth with heaven's wine. How wearily, how humbly shall you crave from the low earth an everlasting grave, and from the dust its ancient anodyne. Love it so much. Just, ooh, beautiful. Heaven's wine indeed. Heaven's wine indeed. Let's continue. How fun. All right. This one is interesting. I think you guys will enjoy. All right. It's called Dominium in Excelsis, Clark Ashton Smith. Exalt thyself, be more than man, be saint or be magician, and where the burning sword awaits, defy the old seraphic ban. Thy will that climbs from dark estates shall divinize the godless fates. This fiery ecstasy of dream melt down the grim forbidden gates that open into spheres extreme, beyond the starry bubbled stream, beyond Capella, past Altair, where amaranthine gardens gleam. Thy feet shall tread the scorpion's lair, thy hands shall catch the comet's hair, over Endor shall ride, unfrightened on the tamed nightmare, and thence go down where ghosts have died, and famished ghouls and vampires glide, or tarry in the years behind the tomb, or in the multiple futures by. Thou shalt respire the flame and fume of Beltis's altars drowned in gloom, under her sharded fanes, or share the fabled Atlantean doom, and rise unharmed to light and air, out of old death, once more to death, with antinomian deed and thought, the planet of thy slain despair, till stones and atoms, shadow wrought, dissolving shall return to naught, or into fairer shapes be brought. Right? Dissolve into nothing, or be impearled into ever diverse shapes. That is our choice, right? Exalt thyself, be more than man, be saint or be magician. Love it, love it, love it. All right, We continue. This next one is called Dream Mystery. Clark Ashton Smith. O'er dreamland gardens lulled in white and music leaned the languorous moon, the burden of the murmured night, where amaranths and lilies wore, in a lofty parlor fully blown, in ivory silence evermore. Bemused, I saw the night's white song, the flowers' moon-measured lullaby, its visible pale rune prolong. Then, to my spelled, reluctant ear, a whisper louder than the light, pierced as from an alien presence near, till half I deemed to shortly see a silver seraph of the moon, or star-shaped harping mystery, but wingless yet the midnight scene, the garden footless to my gaze, save for a wind that fleetly gleamed upon the pensive paced hours, and moonlight fluttering like a moth amid the swayed enormous flowers. Beautiful stuff. Love it. All right. And that'll be it for our poetry this evening. Hail Clark Ashton Smith. I hope you all enjoyed those. And thank you for listening. And we will now go to our divination proper. And as always, we begin with our Ganapati Oracle. And we invoke Ganapati Ganesh, the divine child, the Lord of beginnings, the guardian of the threshold and the master of the spirits, the Ganas. We ask Lord Ganapati to send us an inspiring message through the cards and to help ensure that our words are heard by those who need to hear them. So, Lord Ganapati Ganesh, what is today's empowering and inspiring message? Let's take a look. Inspire. Oh, wow, decision. And look at that decision. We have that energy yet again. Wow. This is the same energy we had yesterday, and the decision is such heaviness, right? Look at this. First, we have the 31, the uniting of the 3 and the 1. The 3, the power of the great mother, that force that calls us into generation, into creative action, into love and into unity, into nurturing and into expanse. Really beautiful, beautiful energy. And on the other side, we have the 1, right? Hermes, the magus, the one who is come to absolute balance within the self and is able to project their will upon reality, right? True empowered force. Really majestic energy here. When you bring them together, we get that power of the 4, the foundation. And in the tarot, the 4 is so profound, such heaviness here, right? We have, of course, within this energy of the decision, the 4 of wands, completion, right? And what is the completion about? The completion is the beginning of recognizing the true self, seeing oneself reflected in the mirror, and understanding who you truly wish to be, where you truly wish to go, where the muse guides, right? We begin to hear, to recognize the signs and the synchronicities. And this is the core of our path. Now we must make that decision. We must chase after her in loving adoration. And that requires a profound commitment. In order to build upon this foundation, we must come to that decisive action, right? You have to make the choice and commit to it, see it to its bitter end in love and in profound willingness, right? And we understand that that willingness leads to true transformation. We shed our egos and transform the self, right? Really profound energy here. This is amazing. This is amazing. Make that decision. Empower yourself in your will. Trust your heart and listen to your sign. Listen to the signs and the synchronicities. And when that opportunity comes, seize it, commit, and be transformed. Profound, profound. Build upon that foundation with loving will. Amazing. Thank you so much, Ganapati. How wonderful. All right. We continue. We're now going to go to the Fairy Guardian Oracle, the Fairy Guardian Oracle. And we invoke the spirits, the fairies, the Manes, the Daimones, the Lares, the Genii, the Seleni, the Penates, the Corites, the Coriobantes, the Nereids, the Nymphi, the Elves, the Gnomes, all the spirits of mind, the spirits of place, the spirits of the ancestors, the spirits of the dead, the spirits of the elements, spirits of the crossroads. We invite them all in, and we ask them to watch over our readings, to guide my hands and inspire. What is the empowering and inspiring message, spirits? All right, let's take a look. Protection. Protection. Wow. The fairies of protection are shielding you with a magical fairy ring of love and light. Practice psychic protection before embarking upon any spiritual work. Wow, that's beautiful, right? Protection. Recognize that you are loved and that you are blessed, that you are guided, right? Take the right precautions, live in reasonable action, be safe and secure, but ultimately understand that we are loved, that we are protected, and that things are going to be okay as long as we are working, as long as we are striving, as long as we are living in that generative, loving harmony, uplifting each other and working towards ever greater expansive flow, right? Ever generative life. That is what unites us. That's what takes us, right? Beautiful, profound stuff, this energy, the protection, right? And you need to use this energy, as they said here, to take that time to cleanse ourselves. We have to do that psychic work to really get out of our overthinking mind and come back into the simplicity of the moment. Ground ourselves in the earth. Listen to the spirits. Don't be caught up in our imagination and bound up in our ego, but rather listen to the world external to us, right? Interesting, profound energy. Feel that love and be blessed. All right. That's the message. Thank you so much, fairy spirits. Okay. And with that, we are going to begin our tarot proper. Before I do, please give me a like and a subscribe. It really does make a big difference. It boosts everything in the algorithm, and I would truly love and appreciate it. And if anyone would like me to pull them a couple cards this evening, please send me a super chat, a super thanks, or sign up for a YouTube membership. And we're going to begin today with the 9-card Saturn Square community reading. And remember, this is a community reading, so take what resonates, discard what doesn't, and trust your own personal intuition above all else. And we begin with the Thoth Tarot by Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon us, to guide us throughout our days, and to help us to realize the beauty of our dreams. So Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering and inspiring message from the Thoth Tarot? All right, let's take a look. All right, we have the 10 of Wands, Satiety. Oh, what am I doing? That'll be our center, but we're doing a 9 card. All right, that's too fun. Let's continue. All right, we have the 9 or the 10 of Cups, Satiety, right? This is beautiful, Satiety, the completion of the cycle in the waters, right? This is coming into true emotional fulfillment, loving satisfaction, being in that true, profound bliss, connected and fulfilled emotionally. You know, we have friends, we have family, we have lovers, partners, community, this and more. And there's a profound charity with this energy, right? This energy calls us into that sharing, into connection. We can uplift others because we exist in this beautiful energy, right? And we can return to the root of the element. We can go to that ace, empowered with this love, and manifest greater expansive flow. Love it, love it, love it, love it. And look at that. Wow. We can come into this true energy when we learn to be in harmony with the earth, right? The 2 of discs is intense energy, right? It's probably the most intense of all of the minor cards, right? It is both beautiful and destructive at the same time. For this is the nature of reality, right? And the force of change is this: everything dances, nothing stands still, right? Everything is in constant flux, change. And all we can do in the face of change is adapt or maintain. We have to try to come into harmony, to be in motion, in that perpetual growth and expansion, along with this force, ever adapting, ever expanding, ever reaching for the heights, ever transforming, manifesting newer, diverse forms in being, expanding into new shapes, right? Lovely, lovely, profound stuff here. But look, when we can come into flow, into harmony with the earth, right? When we can learn to embrace the changes, right? And part of this is to recognize the changes of the self, to understand how malleable and limited this ego is, how malleable and limited this form is, and how we are constantly in this transformation, right? Wild stuff. Let's continue. Yeah, look at that. What's the force that's needed for us to face the two of discs, right? This is really profound and heavy. The emperor, emperor Zeus, right? The masculine and the heights of its power and all of its complexity, right? This is heavy, heavy stuff. When we see the emperor energy, we are called to take charge, to be the authority in our life, to cultivate the vision and unite people in cultivation, in creation, right? The emperor comes to build the foundation, to unite us in the creation and upliftment, in the uplifting of the city, of the profound community, right? Really powerful energy, energy that can really inspire and can create. That in the face of the two, what does the emperor do? It brings everyone together with a plan of action, right? Assured and certain of itself, right? The emperor's wild energy, it can be terrible on one hand, but it can also be that spark, those people who get people going, who have the audacity and the will to unite people in action. And look, there's a profound thing here. That emperor cultivates the earth, builds that foundation, and what manifests? True loving community, emotional fulfillment and satisfaction. And it's expanding, right? We're continuing to grow in this loving communal energy. This is really, really beautiful stuff, really beautiful stuff, right? But it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of mature action. We're going to have to be the one to write this story. We're going to have to be the one to take charge and to manifest that uniting vision, to inspire others to believe and to act, right? Wow. Heavy, heavy burden too, right? The emperor. See here. Oh, and look at that as our foundation. The high priestess, Aphrodite Urania, the two, the highest muse, the light hidden in the darkness, the one who takes us across the abyss into the heights of the beautiful, right? This is profound. When we see this energy, it's almost always an initiation. It's almost always a call to become. And look at this. That high priestess is calling us to become that emperor, to manifest that community, to face the earth. And if we can do that, that's us imitating her. That's us fulfilling our true will, going through the trials and tribulations that we need to. Profound. Let's see. Yeah, look at that. In the face of this, right? In the face of this and this and this, if we want this, we have to do that profound energy of the Eight of Discs, prudence. What is prudence? Prudence is the hard, disciplined work, right? This is disciplined action over time, the cultivation of the self and of the earth, the development of true skill and mastery, right? Energy that takes us to the heights of the ideal, but it's going to take time and effort. This is the gardener, the one who tills the field, removes the stones and plants the seed, who waters the seed and tends to it till it starts to bloom, and then tends to it till it becomes a tree, then tends to that tree till that tree bears fruit. And this process may take years and years, but they do it with love and tenderness. And because of that, they reap the rewards, right? We see the same thing with so much of spiritual work. You have to do the daily practiced actions. You have to engage in regular meditative practice. You have to cultivate and manifest the vision, right? Really beautiful energy. In order to be that emperor, right? That emperor has to be that visionary. He has to have that story. He has to be certain of himself. He has to be that authority, believe in it more than anyone else. This is going to take a lot of effort, a lot of profound will, right? But it is so beautiful. Let's continue. Yeah, look at this. We're seeing a lot of frustration and resistance to this energy of the emperor, right? The emperor is complicated. It's complicated energy. And there's so much responsibility. There's so much heaviness. And if we are so caught up in the mind, it's easy to twist the responsibilities and the heaviness of this energy into something far worse. We can see where this energy could fail and where it could lead us. And that thought can paralyze. That thought can lead us to reject this energy outright, to hate this energy and refuse it. But ultimately, refusing of the emperor only hurts us. It only diminishes us. It only prevents us from being our full self, right? We have to balance these forces within us. You know, ultimately, all of us, all beings that are alive, if have this energy within, and will need to embrace this energy at various times in their life. It's just a fact. And we have to reconcile with this energy. The key is to embrace it when it is needed and to let it go when it has run its course and to move on to other things. Remember, change is the only thing that is real, that is certain. But this emperor energy can serve us in profound ways, and we need to reconcile this energy with it. We need to understand the importance of it, right? The masculine has its place, has its role, and has its power, right? Really, really profound energy here. The nine, how do we break free of the energy of the nine? We need to connect to that highest muse. Why? Because the only way we break out of the nine is by that gaining of a new perspective. We have to step outside of this. When we are caught up in our limited egoic perspective, it is easy to hate the emperor and to reject. But when we engage in this mystical perspective and we understand the cycles and the need to expand and to grow beyond our limited self, we understand why the emperor is here, and we embrace the challenge. We do the hard work of reconciling this and making this the loving father energy, right? Not that tyrannical oppressive energy. That is a manifestation of the fear of this energy, you know. But there is that ability, right, in the Nine of Swords to step outside of this, to gain that additional perspective, to change the 9 into the 10. Because ultimately, the 9 and the 10, they're the same energy, right? There is no change when you move from the 9 to the 10 in terms of energy or terms of force. It's just a perspective, expansive versus returning back to the root. And if we wish to return back to the root, we need to step outside of ourselves and apply our reasoned intellect to our own self, right? See this in that truly expansive muse energy. One of the other aspects of the High Priestess card is she is that great weaver of the tapestry who unites us and connects us, right? She is the muse for all of us, right? And there are many infinite threads, and we are part and parcel of a tapestry. And when we engage with her and we come into harmony with her, not only do we live our true will, but we harmonize with the people around us. And that leads to a profound understanding of the connections and the intimacies of the people around us, right? It takes us out of that self-centered energy. And that's what's needed here, understanding the moment and our responsibility and our ability. Those who can must. Right? Wild stuff. That is the most emperor line, right? Those who can must. There's heavy responsibility with this energy. And if you have the power and the ability, you have to become that authority. Yeah, look at this. Could it ever get heavier? Oh my gosh. Smack us upside the head, why don't you? Oof. Okay, what am I saying here? What do we see here? If we were truly to think about what we want, what does this energy signify? We want loving emotional satisfaction. We want true, profound community. We want to be a part of something greater than ourselves, united, right? United in working. And we want to connect to that beautiful muse. We want to be in loving flow. We want to be living our true will in harmony. We want to be in that divine imitation, in knowledge and conversation, right? Wow. The Two of Wands tells us all we need to know. We have all of the power and bear all the responsibility. Two of Wands is the generative force. This is recognizing that we can dominate, that we have the strength of Heracles, that we wish this energy, then we have to do what? Become the emperor, seize control, be that visionary, manifest that community, tell that story. And we have the ability and bear all the responsibility. We can dominate, we can oppress, or we can uplift. We can build that foundation, and we can use that foundation to uplift or oppress. But ultimately, it all bears on us. This is such a heavy, heavy card, right? Because not only do we have that responsibility for our actions, we have to recognize that we can manifest our will and dominate the world around us. But we have to also bear the responsibility of, if we are not in success, if we are not achieving our dreams, it is not because of the will. It is because of the air. It's because of our mind. It's our own fault. So much responsibility with this two. Two tells us all we need to know, right? You have all this power, all this profound ability, and therefore all the responsibility. And the Muse is telling you clearly, if you wish to be in this energy, if you wish to connect to her, then what do you have to do? You have to adapt and face the change in the earth, do the hard work, and you have to become that emperor, that authority in your own life. You have to take charge and manifest the vision for yourself, right? Heavy stuff. Look at this. Look at this. When we do that hard work, where does it lead us? It leads us to the profound energy of the Six of Discs, success, the perfected middle path in the earth, the most stable and sustainable energy in the earth. And look, when we recognize our own ability, we come into the success, true security, true recognition, right? And profound, just, this is where everyone wants to be in the earth. Everyone really wants to be here, where they're recognized for their actions and secure in themselves and in their place. Really profound, right? When we get here, when we do the hard work and we stop overthinking it, when we stop overthinking it, right? We can't be in all of this energy of just constantly overthinking and lashing out at the world. Remember that Nine of Swords is such a cruel energy. It's such a frustrating energy, where we are transitioning into this victimization mode, right? Not only do we see the struggle with the emperor, the struggle with that masculine, we can all understand that energy, right? Zeus is one hell of a complicated figure, right? But we're seeing this energy is affecting everything. It's affecting also our connection to the muse, right? We're in this doubt. We're in this frustration. This energy is almost saying, this is that classical image you'll see in the myths where the knight wants so badly for the muse to lift her veil, and time again he is denied, 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 right? Because you cannot force your way into this goddess's arms. You cannot make her do anything. You have to ask and you have to wait. And it comes when it comes, if it comes. You know, and you can't be in no victimization energy about it, right? The muse is complicated. Muse is complicated, right? It comes to whoever, it comes to each of us differently, right? And it takes this profound responsibility of action. You have to do that hard work, and it comes when it comes. But what we see here with this 9 is this frustration, right? We're frustrated about the emperor. We're frustrated about connecting to the muse. We're frustrated about the waters. But look, when we can do that hard work, we can come into success. We can break out of this energy. When we really connect to the muse and we stop thinking, right? The thing with the muse, too, is that she's also the answer, right? Ultimately, if you sit in the silence, and you let go, you really let go. And this is hard. It takes a lot of work. But ultimately, something I always recommend to everyone is to take the time to sit in the body, to sit in the self, and to sit in the silence. Not for the sake of meditation. Meditation is focused. Meditation is work. No, we're sitting just for the sake of sitting. And what you do is you let the mind run. And this may take a real long time, but you let the mind run until it runs out of things to say. And then you sit in the silence even longer, even longer. And it's there in the depths, right? When it's run out of words, that you really start to engage with the true energy, that things start to open up and blossom in a new way, right? The speaking continues, but it's no longer that chitter chatter voice. It's something far different, something external, right? Really, really powerful stuff here. Powerful stuff here. Stop being in this internal frustrated energy where we are victimizing, right? We're manifesting our nightmares, lashing out at the world and at the self. And instead, recognize this as an initiation, a trial by the muse. We all have to be the authority in our life. We all have to cultivate a vision. We all have to take charge and responsibility. We all need to recognize our own power, right? But look what happens when we do. Look what happens when we do. We face the change. We cultivate the earth and the self, and we come into true, profound success. What's our last card? Oh, and look at that. How beautiful. The Queen of Swords. The Queen of Swords. Interesting. Interesting. Ultimately, we're finding ourselves in the Queen of Swords energy. You know, the Queen of Swords is profound, mystical energy, the water of air. This is the one who's seeking the heights of understanding through loving communication. She seeks to bring people into understanding, into justice, into connection, right? Really profound energy, magic of Libra. And as we were talking at the beginning about the Libra moon, right? Very powerful energy for this Libra moon, right? So we're finding ourselves in this force, that one who is seeking understanding, but seeking understanding through listening and connecting to the people around us, empowered in that pursuit of justice and harmony. Really beautiful stuff. And no wonder we want this energy, right? No wonder we want that energy. It's beautiful. But ultimately, what do we see, though, for the Queen of Swords? She's going to have to flip her poles in more ways than one. The energy that she really wants. First off, she can do it. Understand that she can do it, right? We have all of the ability, okay? But we have to be willing to do what is necessary. And the muse is showing you what is necessary. right? In order to manifest our dreams, we're going to have to, number one, break out of that overthinking energy. Break out of that overthinking energy. We're going to have to do the hard, disciplined work of cultivating the self and cultivating the earth, right? Building and connecting. And it's going to take a long, hard time, right? But ultimately, it will lead us to success. And we're going to have to become that emperor, take charge of our own life, become the authority, manifest the vision, and build the foundation. If you want to bring people in community, they need to have a place where they can gather. They need to have someone who calls them into the gathering. Right? And that means we have to take charge. We have to take charge. And we have to get over that energy. It's hard to embody this energy as we discussed, but ultimately this is our initiation. This is what the muse demands. This is the challenge. And this is often what we see with the muse. She wants to flip your poles. She wants you to step out of your comfort zone to exceed yourself. And how would the Queen of Swords exceed herself? She's going to have to come down into the earth and do the hard work in the earth. It's not enough to just connect to other people and to listen and to talk. That's beautiful. Not enough anymore. Now we got to do this energy, right? And she's going to have to engage with that heavy, heavy masculine, right? She's going to have to take charge and be the authority in her own life and cultivate that vision, that unitary focus, right? Real profound responsibility here. But she can do it. She can do it and more. She's so profound, right? But got to recognize her own ability and do it. Okay, guys, that's the message. I hope that resonated with you. It certainly resonated with me. And thank you, Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley and the Thoth Tarot. Beautiful. And once again, if anyone would like me to pull them a couple cards, please send me a super chat, a super thanks, or sign up for a YouTube membership. Beautiful stuff. All right. How fun. Okay, where do we wish to go next? Let's see here. We're going to go to the classic of all classics, the Rider-Waite Tarot by Pamela Coleman Smith and A.E. Waite. Okay. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses. Oh, sorry. We're going to do a 9-card Saturn Square reading. Remember, this is a community reading. So take what resonates, discard what doesn't. Trust your own intuition above all. All right. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon us, to guide us throughout our day, and to help us to realize the beauty of our dreams. So Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering message from the Rider-Waite Tarot? Okay, let's take a look. Inspire. Okay, our center card and defining image is the 9 of Wands. Strength. Real powerful stuff, strength, right? Strength is the Wands at the absolute height of their energy. This is that energy that calls you to be your best self, to stand tall, determined. This is the force that says, I will endure, right? Profound energy that can lead to true transformation, to true self-understanding, real forceful action. Where's this energy taking us? Oh, and look at that. That's beautiful. The 9 and the 10. The 9 and the 10. Remember, the 9 and the 10 are always synonymous, right? There's no real change in energy between the 9 and the 10, but rather gaining of a new perspective, the facing of oneself, and the coming to a close of this energy, a returning back to the root of the element, and in re-engaging the path, but this time with profound wisdom born of experience. And this is profound. The 10 of Wands, right? This is oppression, the breaking free of the chains of Saturn, the recognition of oneself. This is profound energy. This is the energy of acceptance and no longer being caught up in the expectations of others, whether these are societal, traditional, religious expectations, expectations just that we have placed upon ourselves, right? No longer are we caught up in that nonsense. We can face ourselves in the moment. And this is really important, right? You don't have to sit in the self forever. You can, in this moment forever, you can expand from here. But in order to truly expand, in order to truly grow, you have to accept the time and place that you find yourself. You have to accept the moment, the body, right? You have to embrace your true desires, the waters, right? Only then can you work to to something else. Only then can you truly begin to transform. And that's what the 10 is about. Real acceptance of the moment. And then returning to the element. Now we understand who we are and what we want. We can pursue our will, this time inflamed in that self-recognition and understanding, no longer caught up in all of this expectation, in all of this, false ideals and ideas. Let's continue. Yeah, and look at that justice. That's beautiful. Justice. Excuse me, apologies. Justice, right? This is Libra. Libra. And this is the power of Themis, the goddess Themis, right? Nicostrate, Carmentis, one of the Carmeni. Real profound energy here. Justice is all about coming into harmony, coming into profound change. And there's a real willingness, to do what is necessary here. What we're seeing here is when we have that strength to really embrace ourselves, to really embrace our desires, to really be empowered in our actions, we can come into this justice energy, make the changes that are needed to really understand and accept ourselves, to break free of those false expectations. And to break free of false expectations, it requires this energy of justice. Recognize, right? Justice is this forceful energy. Libra is exalted in Saturn. This energy stands up for itself. In order to come into justice, sometimes there must be force. There must be a reconciliation. There must be a balancing. We have to defend what is right, what is beautiful, right? And this is what we're seeing here. In order to come into our true self, there is this adjustment that is needed. We need to take action and take charge, come into harmony. Wow, let's continue. And look at that. 2 nines. This is profound. The 9 of Cups, happiness. The 9 of Cups, happiness, right? This is the waters at their absolute height, right? In that true, empowered, infinite expansion. The energy where our love is just connecting to others and inspiring others in true flow, paying it forward in that true connection, right? Real beautiful energy here. Look at this. Look at this. When we can really have that empowered will, real embrace our highest desire. Not only do we find ourselves pursuing this justice energy that leads us into harmony, that calls us to take action, right? Where we can break free of false expectations and come into profound acceptance. But it's leading us to true connection with others. Real, true, profound connection. This is expansive love, right? Not only are we fulfilling ourselves, but we are in this empowering energy where our love is helping to fulfill others and others and others. Wow. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. In order to come into this energy, right, we need to do the profound work. We need to take hold of this opportunity. We need to embrace the strength and seize the Ace of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles signifies a new beginning, a new opportunity in the earth. This could be a new job. This could be a profound inspiration that leads to the creation of new art, the magnum opus. But this is real magical stuff. And when that ace presents itself, we must seize it, take hold of it, empower ourselves and our imagination and in our will. For the ace implies the 9 and the 10. And in the earth, the 9 is gain, real power, and the 10 is wealth and accomplishment, true creative completion energy. Real powerful, powerful stuff. And this is what we're seeing. If we can endure, if we can really come into our true self, if we can be in our highest desires, this is going to lead us to loving fulfillment and to true connection, new opportunities, new beginnings. Wow. We just have to be in that magical energy of the fool, the divine child, right? The zero. This is profound. The fool is that force that calls us to, and just to have that audacity to try. The fool leaps after what it loves with that pure childlike wonder, you know? Children don't think, they just go for what they want and take it, right? They don't understand. They're not concerned with consequence. They're not in this doubtful energy. But look, in order to get into that fool, we have to come into this acceptance, because when we can truly accept and embrace ourselves, and we can embrace our desires, then we can really throw ourselves into it. So you got to ask yourself, what do you love and what do you want to do? And then just throw yourself at it with the full intensity of your being and that childlike wonder and audacity, and see where it leads you. It takes you into profound new opportunities that manifest loving connection that inspires others. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, look, we have the two of discs, the heavy, heavy, heavy energy of the two of discs, right? Oh, no. Please don't go seizure mode on us. Nomies, please. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. Sometimes my camera has a hard time with the Rider Waite tarot. Okay. That seems to have done it. Sometimes spreading it out works. Okay. I mean, I do love that autofocus, but it's I can't turn it off. And yeah. We just gotta live with it. All right. It's working. Okay, the two discs, right? The two discs, real heavy energy in the earth, real heavy energy, because this is the nature of the earth, the nature of reality, right? And when we see the two of the discs, we have to face the nature of reality. Everything is in flux, everything is in a constant state of change. And all we can do in the face of change is adapt or maintain, because this force is coming. And if you resist it, it'll break you and crush you. It'll take you along with it, or it will destroy you. That's how it is. So, in the face of this energy, we are always called to be in that loving, harmonious action, to be in that constant generative flow, right? If we can be in that balanced generative flow, we manifest that power of the bicycle. We go through the cycles in peace and harmony, right? Really, really beautiful stuff if you can achieve it. But good luck getting there. But look at this, the two of discs, that need for harmony. And then here we have the justice, that true balanced harmony of Libra. Wow. And we have that strength to get us there. That's in that loving acceptance, right? It comes out of facing this. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, guys. Wow, wow, wow. When we have the strength to face the earth, to deal with the changes, to adapt and to overcome, we can come into loving connection. We can come into loving connection. We can achieve that harmony and balance. We can recognize our true self. Yeah, look at that. We have the double strength. Love it, love it, love it. And we have the double energy, the goddess Themis, law and justice, right? Real, real beautiful, beautiful, beautiful stuff here. We have the strength, lust, Leo, the breaking of the chains, real magical energy. And this is the will at its absolute height. The animal and the human united, the masculine and the feminine united in the heights of the ideal, right? And this energy calls us to call the apocalypse, to bring profound transformation, to draw down the moon, to manifest our dreams. Real powerful energy to have here, connected to that eight of discs. And look at that. It's coming out of this, right? When we can really accept ourselves, when we can break free from those false ideals, false expectations, and come into our true will, then we can really embody that profound strength, that determined force that'll take us to where we wish to go. How lovely. And it's that strength that's facing the change. We couldn't face the change in a better way. And look, love, the Two of Cups. Wow, 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 wow. There's so much potential here. We're beginning a new cycle, beginning a new opportunity, but it's one that's going to manifest so much love, so much power, so much love, right? The love, the Two of Cups, this is the magic of Eros. This is about recognizing of the other and coming into loving connection, warm embrace, right? And that's profound. Recognizing and seeing the joy, Bacchus and adoration of Venus, the magic of the poets, to see the complexity of the world, but highlight the beautiful and engage that aspect, right? To be drunk and enthused in the power of love, right? Wild, wild energy, the magic of joy to color and to bring positivity to all of your life, right? When we can embrace that magic of love, we can really take this ace to its absolute height. We can use this energy to have that strength to become our true self. We can face in the changes of the earth, right? What makes life worth living? What makes this heavy energy of the earth, that balance, that struggle to continue to grow, all the worthwhile? It's this. It's that loving energy of Eros. It's recognizing the joy. You know, you have a choice. You have a choice, right? What do you wish to perceive? How do you wish to look at the world? Right? Be the poet. Engage in the beauty of Aphrodite. All right. That's the message. I hope that resonated with you guys. Certainly resonated with me. How beautiful. All right. And now we're going to come to our first couple donations of the evening. Thank you guys. Really, really appreciate you and all of your support. So, first up, we have a beautiful donation from Gandhi. Thank you, Gandhi, for your loving support as always. Really appreciate you, my dear friend. Hail the Morai, indeed. Hail the Morai, indeed. Love it. Okay, we're going to go to the Thoth Tarot by Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon Gandhi, to guide them throughout their day and to help them to realize the beauty of their dreams. So, Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering and inspiring message for Gandhi? Let's take a look. Okay, we got the Queen of Wands in your center, the Red Goddess. The Red Goddess, love it, right? The Queen of Wands, the Water of Fire, complicated, creative energy, right? When we see this energy, your focus is on her. Your focus is on her. And it's always about, with this energy, embracing that creative aspect, right? She seeks to inspire the world into change. Oh, and look at that. How are you called to approach her? You are called to approach her as the Magus. The Magus is profound. It's beautiful energy, but it is complicated energy, right? This is Hermes. But this isn't just any Hermes. This is Hermes that has gone through the cycles and risen to the stars, come to the heights of his power, achieved that perfected unity of self. And in the heights of the ideal, he can manifest his will, shape the universe in accord with his vision. Really profound magical energy, right? When we see this, you are called to tell your story, to empower yourself in your will, to engage in that true creative vision, to manifest your future. And to do that, you have to be in true loving harmony with the self and with the universe. And you have to have the audacity to try. Yeah, look at that. The grand trap of the Magus. Right? The grand trap of the Magus. And understandably, because I always give people that caveat, right? This is the, you know, ultimately, in order to become the magus, eventually you have to just don the crown and call yourself king, right? There is a high level of cultivation that is needed, almost certainly, you know, but at a certain point, there is this holding of back of the self, right? There's a preventing of the self. There's a transforming of this image into something far loftier than it even is, even though it is very lofty. Because as much as we love to romanticize that Hermes, right? One of the beautiful things, like we see in that Thelemic tarot, is that the energy of the magus, the juggler, is sometimes an ass. Right? It's sometimes a charlatan. It's all made up and the points don't matter. It's whatever works, you know? It's the one who has the audacity to try. It's the one who has that cultivation of the vision. The one who, you know, how does Hermes beat the devil? This is also part of the trick. You know, we do need to do that hard work, but ultimately, Hermes outwits the devil. Hermes trades with the devil, right? he's not he's not actually besting him, and in the normal sense, right? This is sly energy, right? So the issue here is the Seven of Swords, and you know what this is about: self-doubt, right? It's just the Seven of Swords, though. Self-doubt is something that we can easily reconcile. It's not a big problem. It's only a big problem if you sit in this energy and you wallow, right? But I don't see you wallowing, right? You just need to start trying. The other thing with the magus, right? One of the things you'll always see in the great chaos magical texts is just start trying stuff and see what works, you know? All of a sudden, if you wish to be the magus, just start doing magic, and then one day you'll wake up and you'll be a magus. You know, the only way you become a magus is by doing magic. That's true. So you got to try. You got to start somewhere, right? Do it for her. All right, that's the message, Gandhi. All the love in the world. Don't get in your own way. The other thing I would suggest is connect to Hermes, right? We know you connect to the great red goddess. Have you connected to Hermes lately? All right. We continue. Oh, I'm sure you do magic constantly. Do something in regard to the red goddess. You know, use this, take this as an inspiring stepping stone. All right. Next up, we got Kat the Taurus. Okay. Thank you so much, Kat, for the donation. All the love in the world to you. Okay. And let's pull you a few cards. All right. And we will go to the Egyptian Tarot of Thelema by Oliver St. John. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon Kat, to guide them throughout their day and to help them to realize the beauty of their dreams. So what is the empowering and inspiring message for Kat? Muses. Let's see. All right, inspire. Okay, we've got Atet, the chariot. All right. Well, Atet, you know, this energy of the chariot, this is Apollo the destroyer. This is Hephaestus. This is Arjuna, Prince Arjuna on the battlefield. This is the donning of the armor and the taking of responsibility. This is Durga, the mother Durga, right? What this energy is all about is it's all about what are you willing to do to fight for what you love, right? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? This energy demands that you inflame yourself in your loving passion and you do whatever it takes, that you be willing to move, that you be willing to fight, that you become empowered in that action, determined in that action, responsible in that action. You do what you must for what you love, right? The mother protects her children in complete disregard of herself, right? Wild energy, but beyond powerful. And look at that. We have the Six of Wands victory. Look at this. When you can really embrace this energy, right, of that loving energy, that determined energy of standing up for what you love, you can find who you really are. The Six of Wands victory, this is knowledge and conversation with the highest muse. But more than that, this is coming into loving harmony with the universe, walking the walk, talking the talk, being your best self, and being connection with others. Truly balanced, truly at one and at peace. Real profound energy here. We're seeing you come into true harmony, and you're achieving it by standing up for what you believe in. Yeah, and connecting to others, sharing that inspiring energy with others, and allowing new life and new love in. The Three of Cups is abundance, right? This is the great mother energy in the water. And when we see that three energy, it always is about cultivating, connecting to others, and manifesting generation. Connect, being concerned with the future and creation. This energy is calling us into loving flow, calling us into community, into connection with others. You know, ultimately, look, what does that, what does this energy fight for? It fights for this loving energy of abundance. It fights for that community. It fights for that connection to others. It fights for life, right? This is where you find yourself. You find yourself when you commit to life. Recognize, so this has been a struggle this is such a struggle in our modern conception. Why? Because we live in a world where most of our religions are Gnostic or Gnostic leaning, right? They exist in this self-destructive fairyland where they view the world and life and the generation and the future as something evil, as something to escape from ultimately, right? But that's only one half of the path. That's only one aspect. That's only part of the cycle, right? The other part of the cycle is falling in love with creation. It's being ravished by creation. It's willingly going through the cycles and enjoying the experience, embracing the experience, and engaging in that process of play, Leela, the divine play, right? Really, really beautiful stuff. You have to embrace life. This is what we're seeing here, and recognizing that power of that loving generation, connecting to that great mother flow. That's where you will find yourself, right? When you commit to that fight for loving community and connection. Wow. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. Everyone, the Christians understand that masculine path of Attis, right? Jesus might as well be Dionysus Attis, but they have completely forgotten the path of the Corey. They've completely stricken her from the story. And you can't have a complete cycle with only one half of the story. You can't just reach for the stars. You have to also want to fall in love with the earth, right? The one becomes many so it can know itself. But then, right, we have that idea of Bonnie's falling into creation and into separation and then coming back again. But we vilify the falling into creation. We see this as somehow some kind of primordial sin, as that this is the problem. Like the whole game is not worth playing. I'm sorry, the game is very much worth it. The game is all there is in many ways, right? Anyway, let's continue. All right. Thank you so much, Kat. All the love in the world to you. I hope that resonated. Okay. And let's continue here. We're going to do another tarot reading. And since we got our beautiful Egyptian tarot out, let's do our Egyptian tarot. And we are going to use the Egyptian Tarot of Thelema by Oliver St. John. And let us invoke Apollo in the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon us, to guide us throughout our day, and to help us to realize the beauty of our dreams. Oh, we got a card shooting out at us. So that'll be our center card and our defining image. And remember, this is a, excuse me, this is a community 9 card read. So take what resonates, discard what doesn't. Trust your own intuition above all else. And our center card is Neath 14. That is Temperance, Art, Sagittarius. Right? This is the consummation of the Lover's card, the reformation of the divine androgyne, the coming into the whole self and the creating something greater than the whole. Profound energy here, that alchemical process, true creative art. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And when we see this energy in the center here, it's all about engaging in that creative process, engaging in that loving generation. We are called to embrace the power of the far shooters. We must project our will, set our sights into the far distant future, and strike our target, right? This is calling us to manifest a vision, to manifest a future, to engage in true creative work, right? The artist sees the image in the stone before they strike, right? Powerful stuff. Let's continue. Oh, and we have Ma'at. Ma'at. Beautiful stuff. That is Libra, adjustment, justice, right? Beautiful, beautiful. In order to come into this true creative power, what? We need to reform the divine androgyne. We need to be in that true, balanced, harmonious sense of self, right? And this energy of of justice, of adjustment, right? It calls us to do this both internally and externally. Internally, this is about balancing our conscious and our unconscious mind, our instinct and our human, our masculine and our feminine, right? Understanding all these varied aspects that exist within the self, and that all of this is something that we get to play with, right? And we have to really harmonize and understand and reconcile what this means for us. And then also, this energy calls us to connect to the people around us, right? This energy is in that energy of the air, engaging us in the heights of communication, right? And with all of that profound air energy, we recognize the other people around us. We understand the need for justice. And justice requires profound change in action. We have to stand up and do something. And this may require us to protect ourselves or to protect others, right? You have to do what is necessary to come into harmony. And it requires that force. Let's continue. Wow. All right, look at that. So much Libra energy, guys. We now have the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords, beautiful, right? She is the water of air, the water of air. You know, again, we have that Athena energy, that Libra energy, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And what we're seeing here, right, is the need for this energy to come into harmony if she wishes to be in that creative flow. We're seeing ourselves showing up here as that Queen of Swords, that person who's pursuing wisdom and understanding and knowledge, but knowledge through communication and connection with others. She seeks to bring people into working understanding. She seeks to be that one who recognizes all the various perspectives and can unite them together in communicative understanding. Real beautiful, beautiful energy, right? Let's see where this takes us. Oh, wow. We have the King of Wands. The King of Wands, the fire of fire. Wow. Look at that. In order to be in that true creative power of the art, we're going to have to not only balance and come into our whole self, but we're going to have to connect with other. We're going to have to connect to this energy of the King. The King of Wands is powerful, right? We're really going to have to harmonize and work with this force. This could be a loving connection, or this could be a true working collaborative friendship, but this is something powerful, really powerful connection here, right? The King of Wands is the fire of fire. This is the energy of someone who is really inflamed in their desire. This is someone who knows who they are, who knows what they want, and is in that mature, responsible energy. They're going out to pursue it, but in harmony, right? This is like those people who are confident and beautiful and know it, right? This fiery energy here. And we're seeing this passionate connection between these two that's leading to that creative art and a need to balance, to come into connection, to work together, right? Let's see. Yeah, and look at that. When these two energies can really come into collaboration, not only are we going to see that manifestation of the temperance energy, the artistic energy, but we see the Six of Discs, success. And the Six of Discs is such powerful energy, right? That balanced middle path in the earth. This is the earth in its most sustainable, its most secure, its most balanced. And as such, we can really be in this energy successful, right? We are recognized and we are protected, where everyone really wants to be in the earth, right? Amazing. Let's see here. The Five of Cups. Wow. Wow. There's a bit of a struggle here, ultimately. You know, there's a desire to come together, but what we're seeing here is there is this energy of being out of balance. Five of Cups, right? Loss, disappointment. First off, we have the five, which is the energy of Venus, Aphrodite. This is the force that calls us to stand atop the four elements, to empower ourselves and our will, and to reach for the stars, to draw down the moon, to have that audacity to really try, to inflame ourselves in that strife and that determination, to exceed ourselves and engage in the initiation, right? So the fives are always real intense, heavy energy for that reason, right? Energy that calls us into great action. And in the water, this is about coming into harmony, coming in and recognizing the other, right? There's a potential for love here. But in order for that love to be there, in order for this energy to come, there's a need for these people to work together, to come into balance and harmony. They're going to have to reconcile that five. They're going to have to want to be together. In order to get into the Six of Cups, pleasure, loving reciprocity, mutual consensual flow, we have to be in that true communicative balance, right? We have to be in that loving harmony, in that willful understanding. Wow. The five can transform into that, but it's going to take work. Let's see. Yeah, and look at that. The seer, the fool, the fool. Ultimately, what that work is this artistic tempering energy. These two energies need to come together in collaboration, true collaboration that will manifest into the future. This is creating something greater than the self, right? Working together in a partnership, really creating and building something, right? This may be a love connection, but this is definitely a working one, right? This is definitely an inspired one. And there's a need to really pursue this, to take that leap, to really embrace that energy of the fool, to have that audacity to try, to be in that childlike wonder, without care, without worry, without expectation, just in that pure essence of desire. I'm just going for it. I'm just seeing it and I'm doing it, right? And just myself. And look at that. We have the 15 Capricorn set, the devil. The devil, right? The light of the full moon, the grand adversary, the shaman, right? The one who holds the keys to the perfected middle path, the one who wants to bring you up the holy mountain and pass you through to the crown of the initiates. But in order to get there, you have to approach the devil with true, seeking after true wisdom and love. Anything less, and he'll send you on a profound journey, right? In order to do this, you have to best the self. You have to outwit the devil. You have to be like that empowered Hermes. And this takes really facing yourself in the light of the mirror, overcoming yourself. Wow, wow, wow. You know, what we're seeing is ultimately this creative energy, overcoming of this loss, really coming into loving connection. This is a serious challenge. One that needs to be embraced, passionately embraced. And it will lead to success. It'll lead to success and to harmony. But we have to be willing to face ourselves, to face this challenge head on, and to really pursue that true love. Wow. And we have the Prince of Cups. We have the Prince of Cups, right? Interesting, interesting. There's ultimately three energies here. The Queen of Swords, it looks like, may have a dependent. There's complications here, right? The Prince of Swords represents youthful energy, the energy of people who are trying to figure out the world, or trying to understand their place in the world, or trying to understand themselves, right? They're caught up in the heights of the air, in their imagination, in their dream. Beautiful energy that we all need to pass through, transitory energy, but ultimately we have to let this go and move on to greater, to better things, right? And the prince is at that moment of needing to transition, of needing to grow up, of needing to make a profound decision, and needing to reconcile, right? The air is complicated. Ultimately, the answers that the prince seeks cannot be found in the air, right? The universe is absurd and is beyond the understanding of any individual. And ultimately, they're never going to know if it's the right choice that they're going to make, if this is the right project, if this is where they're meant to be. Those are the wrong questions to be asking. The air cannot provide you with those answers. What you instead need to do is to throw yourself into something with passionate love. Pursue that creative connection. And that energy will take you to where you need to go. And what we'll see is a transition. The prince will move into the energy of the king or the queen, right? And the big difference between them is, instead of seeking after the self, we are creating the self, right? We are creating ourselves. We are living and becoming. But this prince, we're seeing this connected to the Fool and to the Devil energy here, to this creative energy and to the loss. There's a lot of heaviness here, but there's also a lot of potential that can lead to that profound success, right? There's a need for all of these energies to reconcile and to come together in profound collaborative work, to come into balanced harmony. And this is the trial of the devil, right? If we wish to be into the success, we're going to have to achieve that emotional connection as well. There's a need for this energy to become a true, balanced, loving family, right? What I'm ultimately seeing. We're seeing all of this profound energy that can come together in true collaboration, that can lead to real success. But in order for that to happen, they have to face this disappointment, right? The waters are all about listening and flowing together, right? Being in balance and recognizing each other. All of these energies have to come into that harmony, and they have to pursue each other. Wow. So much potential here, so much power here, right? But a lot of listening and loving needs to occur. Right? And some growing up, these two energies, they may have their issues, but they're showing up in a very, very mature way, right? This energy is not even sure if it wants to be here. And that's ultimately why this is all out of balance. How can these energies be in loving reciprocal flow in this collaborative work if one of them is still caught up in the heights of the air and is not committed, hasn't made that profound decision, Wow. Lots to think on with this one. All right. That's the message, guys. I hope that resonated with you. It certainly resonated with me. How beautiful. Thank you so much, Oliver St. John, in the Egyptian Tarot of Thelema. All right, so we're coming up to an hour and a half almost here. And I think I'm going to take a quick break, get myself a drink. And then when we come back, we will do some more tarot. So thank you guys all for listening. I love and appreciate you so, so much. And please enjoy the beautiful music. All right. Thank you guys. I'll be right back. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to Drawing Down the Dragon. And thank you for bearing with me. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to have some water here. All right. And I hope you enjoyed that beautiful harpsichord music. Okay. And now we're going to return to our tarot readings. And this time we're going to go to, what are we thinking? Let's go to our Tarot as Color. The Tarot as Color by Ethel Cocoon. All right. And we, of course, are going to do another 9-card Saturn Square reading. So remember, take what resonates, discard what doesn't, and trust your own personal intuition above all else. That was not Bach. That was Carlos Siaxis, I think, or Sixas. I'm very terrible with Spanish, but that was not Bach. Yeah. All right. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon us, to guide us throughout our day, and to help us to realize the beauty of our dreams. So, Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering and inspiring message from the Tarot as Color? All right, let's take a look. Muses inspire. Okay. Our center card and defining image is the Ace of Discs, the root of the powers of Earth. Powerful stuff, right? The Ace of Discs, right? This signifies new beginnings and new opportunities. And it calls us to really seize this energy, right? This could really be something profound, but it's something that we have to engage in. And in the earth, this could signify like a new job opportunity, a new home, the opportunity to move. It could signify new profound inspiration that leads to creative work, creative art. But ultimately, the ace implies the 9 and the 10, right? And the 9 of discs is gain, power, real heavy magical energy in the earth. And then the 10 is wealth and accomplishment, really creative ability. This energy is true potential. And we really want to seize this and embrace that imagination and that will force. Okay, let's see. The 4 of Wands, the Lord of perfected work. Look at this. This opportunity is something that is born of profound recognition. We're going to understand this ace through this lens of the 4. What is the 4 of Wands all about? The 4 of Wands is the recognition of the self in the mirror, the beginning of conversation with the muse, the recognition of the signs and the synchronicities. This is all about understanding who we wish to be, who we're meant to be, where we're going in life, having that profound sense of self and that profound sense of purpose. And when we can engage with this energy, it can really lead us into action. Look, this new opportunity is something that is born of a profound desire, something we will recognize. This is where we're meant to be. This is what we're meant to do. You know, you'll feel it in your bones. Yeah, and look at this. We're seeing the Temperance card again, the art card, 14. The daughters of the reconcilers, the bringer forth of life. Sagittarius, right? Profound energy, right? Oh man. Temperance, the consummation of the Lover's card, the creation of the divine energy, the creating of something greater than the self, the coming into true loving action, the manifestation of a new empowered reality, projecting our will into the future and seeing it made manifest. This is really, really beautiful energy. Look, when we can recognize our true self, it can lead us into profound action and creation. And this creation is leading to new profound opportunities that's going to become empowered through further creative action. Wow, 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 wow. Let's continue. The Prince of Wands, the Prince of the Chariot of Fire. The Prince of the Chariot of Fire, right? The Prince of Wands, like all the wands, transitory energy. They find themselves caught up in the heights of the air in their imagination, exploring the world, exploring the self, exploring ideas, trying to figure out where they're meant to be, what they're meant to do, what their purpose is. And ultimately, that energy is transitory. They need to come into profound action. They need to make a decision and inflame their life or come into loving flow. And the Prince of Wands is the prince that's caught up in the fires. This is the heir of fire, the really reckless youth, the activist youth, right? This is a youth that's caught up in ideals, in idealism, and is willing to do anything to see those ideals come into action, right? Really, really wild energy, creative energy, beautiful energy, but ultimately energy that's not fully understanding the big picture, not grounded in the earth, not connecting to others, engaging in this passionate, transformative energy. They wish to inspire. They see this grandiose vision, this manifesting dream, but it's one that is not based in the real. It's not based in the earth. So sometimes this energy, these are creative, reckless musicians. And sometimes these are crazy, reckless political actors who cause a lot of turmoil, you know? Wild, wild energy. Wild energy. And ultimately, these energies, like all the princes, need to get out of that air, right? They need to get out of that air. They need to start to recognize the need to connect to the earth and into the waters and into the other, to connect with others. Let's see. The Ace of Cups. Look at this. Wow, though. This prince is facing so many profound opportunities. Wow. Not only do we have this opportunity in the earth, we're now seeing this opportunity in the water with the root of the element of waters, right? The Ace of Cups is beautiful. It's that beginning of true profound connection. This is a new opportunity, a new relationship, something that can lead to real community fulfillment, real connection. Wow, 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 wow. And just like with the Ace of Discs, we have to seize hold of this energy, empower ourselves and our will and our imagination, see this energy to the heights of its completion. Beautiful, right? This begins as that spark, and you have to have the audacity to see it through, and you have to recognize it, right? One thing we're seeing here is ultimately with the princes, they need to come into these energies of the four. The four is that foundational sense of self. It's going to ground them. It's going to provide them with that energy that will lead them into further action, take them out of that imagination and into the elements, right? And what we're seeing here is the princes connecting into that four. They're completing that cycle. They're recognizing their desires. They're recognizing what they want in the waters. They're recognizing what they want in the earth. And they're coming out of that air. They're coming into these other elements. This is real transformation. They're reforming the self. If they're going to really engage this art card, if they're really going to engage these aces, they're no longer going to find themselves a prince. You know what I mean? Let's see. Oh, wow. Look at that. The sun. The sun. There's so much beauty and harmony and potential here for the prince. They just have to recognize it. They just have to pursue these opportunities, recognize themselves, and come into that loving creative action, right? The only thing that's preventing them, holding back in the moment, is the energy they find themselves in this immature, reckless energy. They just need to look around and recognize the beauty of life. When they can be in that true creative work, they can manifest a new dawn, new life and generation. Wow, 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 wow. That is really beautiful. Let's see. And at the top, we have the Chariot, the child of the powers of the waters, the Lord of the triumph of light. Wow. Right? The Chariot, the seven, Cancer, the Mother Durga energy, right? Apollo as the destroyer energy. Real powerful stuff, heavy stuff. The Chariot calls us into action. It calls us to don our armor, to take profound responsibility, to empower ourselves, to fight for what we love, determined to do what we need to do. And look, there's one thing about this youth. The Prince of Wands has all of this passion, all of these grandiose ideas. And what is the Chariot about? Chariot is about coming in. It's about taking that passion and bringing it into flow, bringing it into action. Now we're seeing something real, right? The Prince of Wands, when they engage in that chariot energy, it's one thing to have ideals. It's another thing to stand up for what you love and fight for it. And that's what we're seeing here. And that's what's going to call them into action, call them into this temperance. That's where they find themselves when they're willing to commit. You know, if you really love something, then the chariot, the lover's card and the love, those are energies of coming into love. But real love manifests itself in its rawest form as the chariot, because the chariot is the one that is willing to do anything to protect what it loves, willing to sacrifice the self, willing to act, determined to act, right? And that is real power, the most powerful card in the whole deck, right? Let's see. King of Wands, King of Wands. Oh, look at this. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. We're seeing a profound growth, guys, and an upgrade. We're seeing that prince become the king. When they can embrace that energy of the chariot, when they can stand atop that plateau of the Four of Wands, they find themselves becoming that king, right? And they can manifest the sound after they pursue these energies to their heights, embrace the aces. This is really, 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 really beautiful. We're seeing that prince temper themselves in loving creation and come into the King of Wands. Wow, 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 wow. And the King of Wands, right, is the fire of fire. That mature person who knows who they are and what they want, who knows what they need in life, who's enjoying life, who's empowered in themselves, confident and sure, standing beautiful, real wondrous energy here. And look, the Queen of Wands. Oh man. Oh man. That prince is really manifesting this sun indeed. Not only are they going to grow up, I'm not sure which one they're going to be, right? Choice is theirs. They can be the queen or the king, but ultimately they're going to find their partner. They're going to find their other, whatever path they wish to go. Now that is beautiful. That is beautiful, right? Where does this chariot come about? When they recognize that other that they're willing to fight for. And that's where they find themselves empowered. And that's when the sun comes in. Beautiful new life and generation, new love, new dreams. We're seeing this prince, pursue creation, pursue connection, recognize what they really want in life, come into themselves, and then commit to another and come into true loving connection, right? Now, this is a real love connection. These will die for each other. That's beautiful. That's beautiful, guys. Wow. The key is that prince needs to pursue that love, pursue the waters, recognize what they want and commit to it, fight for it. Wow. Beautiful. Absolutely love it. What a powerful message. All right. Thank you, Tarot as Color. And thank you, Ithel Cocoon. I hope that resonated with you. It certainly resonated with me. What a beautiful little reading. All right. Okay. And once again, if anyone would like me to pull them a couple cards, please send me a super chat, a super thanks, or sign up for a YouTube membership. Okay. And with that, I think we're going to hop over to our magical sortes. But you can still, if you would like a tarot reading, just let me know. Send me a donation. I'll give you a tarot reading. I can also pull you a sortes reading if you would like. All right. And the sortes is a form of bibliomancy, that is divination through literature. And it comes to us from the Greco-Roman tradition. And we invoke the goddesses of inspiration, the divine muses, and ask them to send us an inspiring message through the text. And today we're going to begin with Lord Byron selected poetry and letters. So muses, what is the empowering and inspiring message from Byron? Thou seest not all, but piecemeal thou must break to separate contemplation, the great whole. And as the ocean many bays will make that ask the eye. So here condense thy soul to more immediate objects, and control thy thoughts until thy mind hath got by heart its eloquent proportions, and unroll its mighty graduations part by part. The glory which at once upon thee did not dart. Wow. Not by its fault, but thine. Wow. Look at that. What is Byron telling us? Look, thou seest not all. You're not seeing the whole picture, but piecemeal thou must break, right? We can't see it all. Look, this is talking about our limited perspective as individuals, right? To the individual, reality is always absurd. We cannot understand it all. It is beyond our contemplation, our grasp, right? We can barely glimpse it, right? We can only see it through that energy of humanity, through the cultivation of history and science. But look, to separate contemplation, the great whole, and as the ocean many bays will make that ask the eye, right? You wish to see the whole. You wish to engage with the profound energy of the all, right? We wish to engage with the understanding of the unitary experience. Well, we have to condense the soul, right? Stop trying to experience the whole and come into the self, right? So here condense thy soul to more immediate objects, and control thy thoughts until thy mind hath got by heart its eloquent proportions, right? Bring your mind into focus on the immediate. Live in the moment. Control your mind. Bring your heart into eloquent proportions. Pursue justice and virtue, right? And unroll in mighty graduations, part by part, the glory which at once upon thee did not dart, right? And slowly that glory will be cultivated and will present itself. And slowly your light will shine brighter and brighter. This is the magic of the Eight of Discs, prudence, true cultivation and mastery. Wow. Oh, Brian, you have a question. Did you buy those cards yourself or what? Some of the decks were bought, some of the decks were gifts, you know? I'm kind of a tarot obsessive nerd. And I have like now at least, 40 or 50 decks. But yeah, tarot's beautiful and I like tarot. Most of them at this point are gifts, right? Ultimately, my favorite tarot deck is the Thoth Tarot by Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley, right? And this is the one I use the most often. Okay. All right. Up next, we have another donation, this time from the beautiful D Love. Thank you, D Love. Really appreciate you. And let's give you a magical sortaste. Okay. We're going to go to Women Who Run with Wolves by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. All right. Muses, what is the message from Dr. Estes? Inspire. The flowering apple tree in the tale symbolizes a beauteous aspect of a woman, the side of our nature that has its roots sunk into the world of the wild mother, where it is nurtured from below. The tree is the archetypal symbol of individuation. It is considered immortal, for its seeds will live on. Its root system shelters and revivifies. It is home to an entire food chain of life. Like a woman, a tree also has its seasons and its stages of growth, has its winters and has its spring. Wow. Recognize the tree as the symbol of the great mother. Recognize the life and the beauty of that powerful tree, My advice here after this sortaste is to find yourself a beautiful tree somewhere close to you and to sit under its shade in meditation and just connect your energy to the tree. right? Beautiful. So that's a lot of nonsense, Brian. Okay. Look, okay. You do not have to be gifted anything. Okay. That is a lot of constructed nonsense. So, what you do, where that comes from, is within some of the, not even many, within some of these traditions, specifically within the Romani tradition, there was a tradition of passing down your tarot to your child. And this was like mother to daughter, right? The issue with this is that, this is a closed practice tradition. This is not the tarot that I practice. This is not something that any of us are ever going to practice because it's not for us, it's for the Romani, right? So that whole tradition is nothing for you and I to worry about. I mean, it's always great if you get something gifted to you, right? Something gifted can be truly inspiring. The whole thing with the tarot, though, is the tarot is just a form of divination. It's a system, right? It's a tool. The real magic happens within. And divination does not require the tarot. The tarot is an extension of the diviner. It's a system that can bring out inspiring ideas for the mind to play with, right? But divination is simple. All divination is the invocation of random and the selection of something, right? That's why the sortes is in many ways a simpler, more pure form of divination, right? It's certainly a more ancient form of divination. You simply grab the book, select at random. All right. Reluctance against God and his just yoke laid on our necks. I'm certainly very reluctant of that father figure God, and I certainly feel his, yoke upon my neck. Wild. That was fun. But yeah, real divination is just that invocation. You just ask and look. That's it. It's a perception, it's a recognition. You don't even need, it can be done with music, it can be done with the sight. Signs and synchronicities are another form, right? The tarot is just an extended form of divination. And as such, you can take as much care as you want of your tarot cards or as little care if you want of your tarot cards, and it's still going to work well as a divining tool. Now, the interesting thing with the tarot is it doesn't need to just be a divining tool. How far do you wish to take this? How do you wish to engage the tarot? The tarot is interesting, and the reason why I love the tarot as a divination system is that the tarot is a templum. It contains the totality of the universe, and it is a way to speak with the divine. These are living images, and you can treat them as profound living images, as idols, as eidolon, and this as a temple for which to engage the idols, to pass through the portal and into the realm of the divine. Now, you can do that, but you don't have to do that, right? What makes something sacred is action and discipline and belief. If you take your tarot and you ritualize your relationship with it, if you empower yourself in your action, if you treat these images as divine beings, if you pray and offer to them, if this becomes an empowered temple, then it will be an empowered temple. But it doesn't need to be an empowered temple to be a source of divination, right? It just needs to exist within our reality. All right. All right. Sorry for the tangent. Okay. All right. Up next, we've got Kairos. Thank you for signing up for the membership, Kairos. All the love in the world to you, my dear friend. And would you like a tarot reading or a sortes? Please let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, I'm going to pull a sortes from the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Muses, what is the message from the Tao? Let's see here. When the mother is found, we know what her children should be. Whoa. When the mother is found, we know what her children should be. Isn't this the whole essence of the Muse tradition. We engage in that divine imitation. We strive to connect to and see her in order to know what we should be. Wow. That is profound, man. When the mother is found, we know what her children should be. We know what we should be. So we must do what? Find that great mother. Okay. All right. Thank you, Kairos. And let's give you a sore taste. Let's see here. Okay. For you, we're going to go to Thomas More, The Complete Poetical Works. Muses, what is the message from More for our dear friend Kairos? Time fleeted, years on years had passed away, and few of those who on that mournful day had stood with pity in their eyes to see the maiden's death and the youth's agony were still living. When, by a rustic grave beside the swift Amu's transparent wave, an aged man who had grown aged there by that lone grave, morning and night in prayer, for the last time knelt down, and though the shade of death hung darkening over him, there played a gleam of rapture on his eye and cheek that brightened even death, like the last streak of intense glory on the horizon's brim. And when night o'er all the rest hangs chill and dim, his soul had seen a vision while he slept. She, for whose spirit he had prayed and wept so many years, had come, all dressed in smiles, and told him she was blessed. For this the old man breathed his thanks and died. And there upon the banks of that love tide, he and his Zelika sleep eternally side by side. Wow. Even after death, even in the silence, even when nothing is reciprocated, that man continued to love his muse, continued to love his lover, continued to be there, right? And in the end, he was reunited with her, rewarded with her for that loving adoration. And this is the message. This is the message. It is loving adoration and that willingness to engage in that in spite of all of its trials and tribulations that takes you to the heights. That's the message, Kairos. Love and adore her and remember to wait. You know, this is something that people struggle with, but this is a true thing. The muse comes when she deems, and for each of us, it is different. All we can know is that profound wait, and we must love the wait. We must embrace the eros of distance and accept it, and wait for that profound explosion of the sesame when we can engage in that profound revelation, when the veil is lifted, and it will be lifted. All you have to do is ask and wait. All right. That's the message. Peace and love, my dear friend. Okay. We continue. We continue. All right. And up next, we're going to go to Christopher Marlowe, Faustus. All right. Muses, what is the message from Faustus? Exactly, Valdane. She's like a wizard. She might as well be Gandalf, right? Settle thy studies, Faustus, and begin to sound the depths of that thou wilt profess. Having commenced, be a divine in show, yet level at the end of every art, and live and die in Aristotle's works. Wow. Right? What is the call there, right? To Faustus. Give up the idle things and focus. If you wish to be the divine in show, you wish to gain the magic, go to Aristotle, learn this, right? The devil shows him where to go, but doesn't stop him from having to do the work. Wild stuff. Interesting. We continue. Okay. Up next, we're going to go to the House of the Dead, Jeremy Reed. Muses, what is the message from Jeremy Reed? Inspire. The knowledge she could never be the same, compulsively impulsive Sylvia, with language as aggressive weaponry and neon incentive to make a name that wouldn't ever fade from poetry. Wow. Wow. The neon incentive to make a name that would never ever fade from poetry. Right? But, but, what does it mean to be enchanted within the poetical, right? What does it mean to be enchanted within the poetical? It is not to be remembered as you are. It is to be transformed into the divine image. It's to be taken into the heights of the ideal, right? No ego survives that transformation, right? People see that as some kind of profound immortality, but it is not the immortality that they wish. Often, at least, you know. Let's continue. Okay, up next we've got Kat, the Taurus. Thank you so much, Kat, for the donation. And let's give you a profound sorte. So let's see where we're going to go for Kat. We're going to go to the Orestian trilogy, the Oresteia by Aeschylus. Muses, what is the message for Kat? Inspire. I advise you, do not act in scorn of us, your country's visitants, or you will find us harsh. Whoa. There's a reminder to be hospitable, right? And to to treat the outsiders with loving respect, to recognize the people who are visiting your home as beautiful and worthy. Remember, hospitality is the heights of virtue in the Greco-Roman tradition. Dionysus is the everyman, and we are called to see him reflected in everyone. We are called to treat others as we wish to be treated. This is the most important thing we can do, right? What made the people believe Numa was divine? Hospitality. He showed such love and hospitality, and he gave so freely, though he had so little. People were astounded. They said, this man had to be blessed. No one behaves as such. you know, if we can love each other and we can respect each other, regardless of how different we appear, that's where true magic lies. And this is something that is extraordinarily difficult, but it is something worth pursuing, something worth engaging with. You don't have to like everyone. You don't have to, you know, be around everyone, but we recognize the humanity in the life in everyone, in the worthiness of life in everyone. And we support everyone when they're in need, and we accept everyone's right to be, you know? I accept everyone's right to be, and we don't step on anyone. Every person is a star. Love under will. All right, that's the message. Beautiful stuff. Okay. And with that, I think we're going to call it an evening here. And we're going to end now with a reading from the hymns of Orpheus. Thank you guys all for donating, and thank you guys for all your loving support and for watching. Really appreciate you. Now let's see. Muses, which hymn should we read this evening? To Museus. For those of you unaware, Museus is the we can do a Clauges. Okay. I guess I should do Clauges for you guys. You guys love this book so much. All right. Wild Man Clauges. Okay. We're going to go to Of Cosmogonic Eros. Let's see here. Muses. What is the message from Clauges? In the moment of even the highest exaltation, it remains an Eros of distance, and the intoxicated man remains a separate, never intermingling second in relation to his partner. An eye of the all watching him from out of the purple night. Remember, it is always an Eros of distance, right? Even when we are united and connected in that intimacy, there is still that separation. We still exist as ourselves. We still have that ability to be ourselves. This is something that a lot of people fail to recognize, you know. We all see that the drop merges into the ocean, but few recognize that the ocean merges into the drop, right? That we can, when we become empowered in that connection, we become the everyman. We can experience the everything, right? Wild, wild stuff. Wild, wild stuff. Absolutely love it. All right. Thank you, Clauges. Let us continue. We will now read to Museus. And for those of you unaware, Museus was the son of the great prophet Orpheus and continued the tradition after him. All right, let's continue. Attend, Museus, to my sacred song and learn what rites to sacrifice belong. Jove I invoke, the earth in solar light, the moon's pure splendor and the stars of night, thee Neptune, ruler of the sea profound, dark-haired, whose waves begirt the solid ground, Ceres abundant and of lovely mien, and Proserpine, infernal Pluto's queen, the huntress Diane, and bright Phoebus' rays, far-darting god, the theme of Delphic praise, and Bacchus, honored by the heavenly choir, and raging Mars, and Vulcan, god of fire, the mighty power who rose from foam to light, and Pluto potent in the realms of night, with Hebe young and Hercules the strong, and you to whom the cares of births belong. Justice and piety august I call, and much famed nymphs, and Pan the god of all, to Juno sacred, and to memory fair, and the chaste Muses I address my prayer. The various year, the graces and the hours, fair-haired Latona and Dione's powers, armed Curetes, household gods I call, with those who spring from Jove, the king of all, the Idaean gods, the angel of the skies, and righteous Themis and sagacious eyes. With ancient night and daylight I implore, and faith and justice dealing right adore. Saturn and Rhea and great Thetis too, hid in a veil of bright celestial blue. I call great ocean in the beauteous train of nymphs who dwell in chambers of the main. Atlas the strong, and ever in its prime, vigorous eternity and endless time, the Stygian pool and the placid gods beside, and various genii that o'er men preside, the illustrious providence, the noble train of daemon forms who fill the ethereal plane, or live in air and water, earth or fire, or deepen beneath the solid ground retire. Bacchus and Semele, the friends of all, and white Leucothea of the sea I call, Palamon, bounteous, and Agistrea great, and sweet-tongued Victory with success elate, great Asclepius, skilled to cure disease, and dread Minerva, whom first fierce battles please. Thunders and winds and mighty columns pent, with dreadful roaring, struggling hard for vent. Attis, the mother of the powers on high, and fair Adonis, never doomed to die. End and beginning, he is all to all. These with propitious aid I gently call, and to my holy sacrifice invite the power who reigns in deepest hell and night. I call Enodian Hecate, lovely dame of earthly, watery, and celestial frame, sepulchral, in saffron veiled arrayed, pleased with darkened ghosts that wander through the shade. Persian, unconquerable huntress, hail, the world's key bearer, never doomed to fail. On the rough rock to wander, thee delights. Leader and nurse, be present to our rights. Propitious grant our just desires success. Accept our homage and the incense bless. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Hail Muses. Hail Muses. Love it. All right. And with that, we end tonight's reading with our prayer. Thank you guys all for watching. And thank you guys for the donations. Much love to you all. And we cry out in loving adoration to the great mother, the twins, and the muses, the one duality and generation. And we ask the muses to sing in us the songs of inspiration, to guide us in our daily wanderings, and to teach us to listen and perceive with reasoned clarity. Thank you all for joining me on such a beautiful and lovely evening, and take care. Let us now blow out our candles and end our rites. Hail Hestia.